welcome to Creative Futures 4, guys. Creative Futures 4. It's really good to have you here. My name is Sanj Sarati. I run Tiger Heart. This is a partnership between Tiger Heart and Digital Jam. Tanya can't be with us today, unfortunately. So I'm going to be the MC tonight. First of all, just want to thank our sponsors. So make some noise for Microsoft, Microsoft Reactor, for giving us this space. Emma and the team have been absolutely amazing. If you see them, buy them a drink. Actually, the drinks are free, so just give them a drink. Actually, they're paying for the drinks, so I don't know. But yeah, thanks to them. Also, we've got Quanda. They've got their technology out there. Make some noise for them. Woo! And we've also done a partnership with Crisis, which is a homeless charity. And what we're trying to do is rehabilitate some of the alumni, some of the people that have gone through the process of the crisis mechanism, and getting them to sort of get involved within the tech community. So we've got one of our partners here, a guy called Richard, who works for Crisis, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about that now. Yeah.
I love the applause before I start. Do that again when I've finished and we're all good. So we are a homeless charity. I have to start with the stat. That's how these songs always start, isn't it? So there's about 250,000 people that are homeless right here, right now. I could convert that into buses or Wembley stadiums or all of that kind of rubbish. Not gonna. But when you walk past somebody on the street, imagine 10 shadows. So for each person you see that is street homeless, there is another 10 living in a hostel, living in a tent, living in somebody's front room, all of whom have had the same loss, right? All of whom are going through the same journey. In here today, there is an incredibly inspirational character who has come up and thanked me massively for the journey that we helped him on. It's like, no. What Crisis does is it puts a hand out, right? And people take that hand, and with their strength, they rebuild their lives. That's not what we do. We just offer the hand. We offer the training, we offer the support, and they rebuild their lives. Now, you could go, I might become homeless. The chances are, for most people in this room, that's not true. You're probably not. You've probably got the safety networks in place. You've probably got the family that can help you. What you want to ask is, in one of the richest countries in the world, why have we not got that network for everybody? Why does it have to be some that are okay and others that aren't? Okay? Now, I promise not to speak for too long, so I'm not going to. But I have one last thing to say, and this is the room to say it to. Crisis is going to end homelessness. In this room, I bet some of you have gone, no. Some of you have gone, Some of you have gone, wow. And I love, that's the reaction, right? But you are a group of people who are futurologists, right? You are looking at the future and saying it can be changed. In Finland, they got rid of homelessness. In some cities in North America, they got rid of homelessness, right? So it's possible. There's no denying it's possible. The question is, can we do it here? Can we do it here? And if you are people that can affect the future, if that's part of what you're about, then you are the people that can help end homelessness. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good evening.
Thanks so much, Rich. So let's introduce you guys to our guests. Some of you guys have got lapel mics, and we're gonna share this stuff. Janne, do you want to go first? You want to tell us who you are and where you're from?
I'm from the Netherlands. I've been living now in London for 2 years. I'm from Mind Fashion. They say I'm an identity developer and a community language developer, which is formerly known as marketing and branding. There is a difference between it. But and I started Mind Fashion about, I think now a year ago. It's more a mind development of myself, and I ended up connecting also really interesting minds such as Sanj through Mind Fashion. And what I do is I look I created a framework to look different to fashion. So I go beyond only innovation as in technology and fabric and design innovation. I look at the people behind it. So what I do, I try to educate people in the role of what humans play within fashion, both disposal, production, design, and of course wearing. And I love to challenge things, to look at why we do things. I'm like that annoying 3-year-old saying why all the time. I think that sums up a bit what I do.
Brilliant. Make some noise for her. Come on. Yeah. Vivian, how you doing?
Hello.
Tell us about yourself.
I'm Vivian. So where do I come from? In a nutshell, Romanian, born in Belgium, got tired of Belgium, went to Paris, went back to Belgium, went back to Paris, now have been living in London for 2 years almost. And I've been in luxury and in retail for a long time, and kind of looking at how can we either use tech or put in place new like tech or processes that are either client-facing or not, but that really enhance the customer experience. There's some things that are really cool and that people are working on, but there's also things that can be boring, but that really make a difference in the experience that you provide to the client. And especially in luxury, it is like the experience and how efficient you can be is very important, but also what the dreams that you can provide to the client, like the amazing experiences. So I've been working kind of on the tech side of things and more boring side of things, as you can say it, and also on the super magical things, like how can you reward your clients and how can you make them dream. So I've always kind of been like in between two worlds. So this is what I'm really passionate about, and mostly now I help companies like integrate that. How do you not just sprinkle a bit of tech and be like, oh, we have iPads in store, it's amazing. No, like how do you actually use that to really provide a different experience? And how do you use all the tools that you have and all the channels to really do something different, which I feel like for the last few years, everyone has been saying retail is dead, retail is going nowhere. So we just have to see how we can transform that and just make it awesome.
Brilliant. Awesome. Lara?
Hi, is it okay? Yeah, great, works. So yeah, I'm Lara, I'm from Borimi, I'm Italian originally. I've been here a bit of time, so I'm British by now. So basically what we do at Borimi is provide a unique platform for the fashion industry that from measuring customers and garment, we can provide size recommendation, 3D virtual fit, made-on-demand pattern, and it's all integrated. We really want to contribute to the fashion digital revolution and in a sustainable way, because we strongly believe that there will be a strong trend in made-on-demand and made personalized. And today we have all the tools which are available for brands just to plug and play really with their own ideas. So we hope we can help this small revolution.
Brilliant. Make some noise for Lara. Come on. Woo. And last but certainly not least, Gavin.
Hello. I'm Gavin. I'm the only one from London. I'm born and bred here. I run a company called Quanda with my business partner, Danny Carpenter, who's sitting at the back. And we basically specialize in building software for brand experience, events, and retail. So that could be anything from building really awesome photo experiences and activations. Some of the companies that we work with are the NFL, NBA, British Sky Broadcasting and stuff. And on top of that, we also take all that data and we also help those brands to better understand the audience as well. So a good thing is that with Sky, for instance, they have this thing called Sky Studios at the O2. And we use the data that we collect to help improve the experience for customers. So that helps to drive better engagement. And our ultimate goal is to use, I guess, machine learning and artificial intelligence to be able to drive, how the store or how the brand experience works based on the audience that it's supposed to cater for. And that's us.
Make some noise, guys, for them. So I'm going to grab a seat. So let's go with some questions, okay? So we're going to do a panel discussion. And the format is going to be, we've got some questions here which I kind of read them, but I don't actually know them that well, but I'm going to ask you guys them. And then afterwards, after we've done these questions, we'll have you guys ask the panel some questions as well. We're going to do that last, if that's okay, because last time we did that before, and then loads of people started having questions, and then there was like a fight. Someone said something really nasty, and then she left, and it was just a little bit weird. So we're going to keep things a little bit serious for the first half, if that's okay. But yeah, guys, just relax, have a good time, and yeah, we're going to go. So I'm going to start with the first question. All right, here we go. Right. 50% of clothing sales online are returned by the customer straight to the retailer. This causes a huge problem for retailers as it's expensive and bad for the environment. What technology innovations are being used to combat this epidemic at the moment? Who wants to answer that first?
I can go.
Yeah.
I actually have a friend who tested it recently. Don't know if you've seen this company that came out. It's this Chinese company, I think, that came out with a suit. It's called the Zozo suit.
Oh, yeah.
So funny enough, my friends, they wanted to try it out, and they ordered it, and it arrived a couple of weeks ago. And they took pictures of the ad, where like obviously this like really cool person has this suit on and they look fancy. I mean, with a weird suit on. And then the friend, he's like, you know, he really was trying to prove a point. So he has his like everything hanging out, like it didn't really fit. It was a bit awkward. But yeah, I think those kind of things still look a bit, I don't know, a bit strange. But I think that was kind of the first time where I saw something that gets delivered to the client that you can actually try on at home. Because right now, like before that, there was only kind of solutions that were a bit, like took a lot of time, that were really hard to implement. So that's kind of the last one I saw that was a bit different, a bit easier to use.
Laura?
Yeah, we know this technology. So there is when we started a few years ago, there was no interest from the brand's point of view to help the customer to facilitate the choice of the size, which is number one issue of the returns. So I'm not saying the whole 50% is due to size, but you know, probably 80 or plus of that is due to sizes. Now the problem is the brands were not concerned because the amount of returns versus the retail was still quite manageable. Now that the things are kind of increasing, they are really looking at different type of solutions. So Zozo is a great example. They also will be collecting data measurements points to provide more of a made-to-measure solution. Yeah. So we know because we work with companies that work with them. And this is where I think the industry is starting to make a leap. And I'm really pleased that large company, international company, are making an example because they're more conservative, and unfortunately this country has a lot of conservative brands because we've been knocking their doors for years and they say, oh yeah, it's very good, and they don't do anything. Yeah, and so yeah, I think there will be a bit of a revolution in that sense. So providing the technology, there are many different technologies. One of the technologies I've seen most implemented here, for example, is the personal shopper or the person that advise you to, you know, to get that brand together with the other brand or whatever you have. And that already kind of was in a help, they claim, in terms of reducing the returns because maybe it was just due to size and not the fact that you really didn't like the garment. Yeah. So that something is happening, I think.
Cool. Yeah.
I think definitely, you know, with technology, I think augmented reality, artificial intelligence, you know, making more consumer-specified choices, but I think we also should need to look at, you know, why is it happening? You know, there's a lot of impulse buying as well. Why do we always need to make it easy for customers to return? You know, making sure that they make the right decision is also a part of the solution. And of course, it's not, you know, you don't want to make it difficult for consumers to really buy something, but somewhere down the line, we do need to cut our loss. It's either the environment or our wallet. So there's also a change from, we have to, it's a human innovation, not only technology innovation, I think.
Awesome. And Gavin, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I think it's, you're right, like everything comes down to you need to look at what the root cause of that is. And part of that is that there is just too much choice and everything is too cheap. And it's very easy to return stuff. So the the net effect of that is that people buy too much stuff and then they don't like it and then they return it because all these things are easy. If you can use technology to find ways to actually help people make better decisions in their purchasing, in what they purchase in the first place, and make sure that the things that they have are the right size. So doing really smart things like if your customer is constantly buying the same size of clothes and they're constantly returning them, and the reason for them returning them is that they're buying the wrong size, then make suggestions on clothes that are the right things for them. And that is almost like the root thing that you need to do to help reduce that waste.
Awesome. Has anyone else got anything to add?
The only thing maybe, because I know everyone's like now also focusing as in retail and bricks, but even retail and bricks is now all focusing on experience, which is also going towards more impulse behavior. So I'm quite curious about how that development is going to affect the return rate of fashion as well.
It's a cultural thing, isn't it? There's something wrong with the culture at the moment that needs to change.
Yeah, it's how the economy, it's basically on consumerism and ownership still. And of course, the wheels need to keep turning.
Absolutely, but then that's the opportunity, isn't it, for a tech company or whoever to kind of innovate and solve that problem.
Yeah, and I think also there's two different, there's going to be two different types of people or companies who are interested in different things. You have the brand who always are producing their garments and their shoes and they're like everything in the same way. So that's one problem that you have to solve, which is kind of, I think, easier. And then you have the multi-brands who have a bazillion number of brands they work with. Every different brand has different sizing. So how do you also, having worked for brands before, even there, the sales associates were taking the measurements and keeping a record of it. It was very manual. So imagine if you have to do it for every single client that you serve, you have to remember it, you put it on your little clienteling app, blah, blah, blah. It's still very tricky and time consuming. But then I feel like we haven't really solved it for the multi-brands. And they are the ones who are faced with even more returns, right? And all of that problem, because also apart from working with a lot of brands, you work with brands who are sizing, like they have a US sizing, an Italian sizing, a French one. Like it's really, really tricky. And so I feel like if you want to kind of solve that problem, you have to look at it in two different ways, because you're going to have two different types of needs. So not really giving an answer, but
It's cool. What the hell is going on? It's cool. And you guys want to add anything?
I was going to say, I think technology has a really interesting part to play in that. If you took, for instance, Spotify's recommendation engine and you plugged that into a multi-brand environment, the clothes that you like, not based on music, but if you guys both share an interest in something, and then because of the way that your sizing works, you might get something that's recommended to you based on other people that are similar size to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, there are tools that work like that. They are like big data tool. But the thing is, when you talk about big data, if you have 100,000 people, probably it's not enough. You need to have millions. So Amazon is working heavily on that. But Amazon is #1 big data. And then we have some other company in the US and in Europe that they kind of develop solution like that. And I think they're fairly good, to be honest. But the problem is, the solutions are there.
Yeah.
It's the brands that need to embrace it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't understand why not. We have also solution that we can visualize things in order to make a better choice. But it's difficult for them to say, okay, let's do it.
because I feel it's also about keeping the human element in it, which a lot of times it's just about the tech and the computer's going to choose for you what size you are, or it's all manual. And it's just the sales associate doing it. And I think we have to make it work, especially for fashion, because it's so,
It's more subtle.
It's subtle. So I feel like for it to work, you would have to find a tool that actually enables also the human aspect and human kind of going through the data that has been,
I also think multidisciplinary teams, because you need that translation. It's the reason why I started Mind Fashion is that you need to have like a sort of glue in between that can translate fashion through technology, and either through psychology or communication experts that know different kinds of levels of both the consumer side, both the production side, both the technology side, and that needs to fit.
Absolutely.
I have the last thing to say. I think you touch on the fact that the society now is like a fast fashion, low margin, huge volume, and I hope I've been to a few conferences. I was in New York last week. That there is a desire from the new generation, like when I was growing up, very young, so that you rather spend more on a garment that is kind of higher quality and that is sustainable the way it's been made, and you can wear it for 3 years and it's fine, even if it's not the last things that has been shown 2 weeks ago in a fashion show, because it shows your personality. That's a little bit my desire in that, because tons of garbage produced in the fashion industry. It's
Second biggest polluter in the world.
exactly
Fashion.
It's sad.
The good thing, what I at least can tell, because I work also with a lot of emerging designers, is that apparently there's a shift going on, and the nice thing is that they are able to do more made-to-measure work instead of like the collections they present, which is interesting. Of course, it's also based on the personalities. Yeah, no, not
Not
just.
necessarily. It's just the way they want to do it.
Yeah, you see that that people want personalized, as in made-to-measure, as in like it's made for them, just one piece. And normally it was like a lot of designers always loved doing made to measure, but they weren't able to live with just made to measure time. So that's why they did the collections, but there is a shift going on. And it also makes, that they produce on demand, and that's of course sustainable.
Awesome. Guys, let's move on to the next question, if that's okay.
We won't get through.
No, but it's a big deal. All right, so guys, we're being streamed out to China at the moment, and also the US. One of our sponsors, Jing Daily. I forgot to mention them earlier. Can we make some noise for them, because they're in a room in New York. Yeah. You'd be surprised. We had like 2,000 Chinese viewers last time. It's late. Yeah, it's late. Yeah, it's interesting. But this is one of their questions, and it's Chinese focused. So, what is the role of technology for brands in China, and how does that differ to other global markets? And who wants to take this one? Do you know what, Gavin? Let's go with you first.
For me.
Yeah.
It's a really hard one. I think a lot of brands don't understand the Chinese market. We get agencies and brands come to us pretty much on a monthly basis and ask us, how do we reach that market and how do we communicate? Because that's what it is, right? People don't receive emails in China. People communicate very differently. Most people communicate through WeChat.
Yeah.
And if you're a technology business and you want to have data in China, you need to have a Chinese organization. And a lot of people don't really understand that. So when we do brand activations in China, we're shipping servers, like physical ones, out there to see, to have the data there, because we can't host it here in the UK. It's difficult. It's very hard.
I think also how they see technology is completely different. It's so woven into their DNA and their communication.
Yeah.
For me, because we did also a couple with Chengdu, which is like the most liberal part apparently of Chengdu of China. I don't know. Don't quote me on that one, but I do think it's really, you have to have someone from the area, even the area, because there's a really difference between cities within China to really understand what is it that they want, how do they communicate, and in order to provide like a made-to-measure system. And it's also, they look at how we see it, I think, more as a sort of provider, but it's a way of living. And they're changing so much, it's the whole world has opened up to them. Also how they are presented, they're definitely a little bit more visible in representation also within fashion. That's something they need to get used to. They also, I think they have the feeling that they're more in control. Yeah. Normally they were dominated by the Western world. So there's so much going on there that you really need to have someone there.
I agree, and also I went to Shanghai a couple of months ago, and I mean we all say everything goes to WeChat, but actually when you see it, I was at a dinner, I was the only not European, but the only non-local. Yeah. All of my friends around the table, one guy paid the whole meal, and then in less than 2 minutes, his friends had repaid him back. Mm-hmm. And you're for a European, I'm like, how did that happen? Yeah. Because I did not even see how you made it happen. And they're like, oh yeah, it's super easy. We just like scan this QR code, blah, 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 like 2 minutes.
Well, they book their holidays through
But
WeChat.
but
They
it's
check
like
in hotels
everything.
through WeChat.
Like
Everything.
your whole life is on, and everything is integrated in this one tool. And for Chinese people, it seems completely normal. Yeah. And I would love to have that, but we don't. Like we need 15 apps to do what they do on one app. Yeah. So this is one also of the things that I think took more European or Western companies a hard time to understand is, but we want to have our own app because this is how we do it, you know, in our own market. Yeah, but there's a different behavior. And like you say, like technology is, they have a completely different relationship to technology because it's everywhere and it's seamless and it's super easy and the payments are integrated, which is not something that we have in Europe and in America and all of the rest of the, like payments is a mess. Yeah. In China, payment is instant. So
this statistic I don't have, but I think it's like 60% of the payments they go through mobile phone. 60% in China, and the fact that I just look at the number that probably is for another question, but I should it now. That it gives you a sense that WeChat has over 1 billion users, but WhatsApp has 1.5 billion. But active daily user is 900 million WeChat and a few hundred million WhatsApp. So the fact that even if he has 1 billion user, it means that 99% use this software every single day.
Because you need it.
WhatsApp
like you can't do anything if you don't have WeChat.
When you need to just do one thing, which is send a message. Yeah. It's exactly. It's completely integrated, and also face recognition and things like that, are totally integrated. Yeah.
Just so you know, guys, we're not sponsored by WeChat. But we should be. Where are you guys? Come. All right, we're going to move on. Is that cool? Yeah? All right, question number 3. After a lot of hype and billions of dollars, Magic Leap have finally launched their physical product as a developer kit. It's taken 5 years, but Magic Leap's hype seems to have captured the imagination of AR fans all over the world. What is the future of this type of augmented reality hardware, and where does it fit within the current sphere of creativity? Who wants to take this one? Janne? Yeah, you want to go first? Okay.
You go first. Let's go. So many things to say around that.
I have my rant after it. So
I could go on for like 45 minutes just on this topic. Yeah. It's interesting because there's a lot of hype, obviously, and I feel like AR, VR, MR, all the realities are changing the way that we're like shopping, but the way that we're looking at things. I feel like having also experienced it, virtual reality or AR is great for education, gaming, like entertainment. I haven't seen yet an application in fashion that blew my mind. Like it's kind of, because again, how do you represent a fabric? Like how the way a fabric flows, a way your shoe, fits on your feet. Like it's much more complicated with a more artistic a garment or a more artistic product. So I feel like there's so many things that are going to happen with this, with the different realities, XR, but and it's amazing. Like when it's done properly, it's incredible. By the way, I did the Star Wars like VR thing. It was
amazing.
So I thought I was gonna hate it.
I thought that too.
Because I don't like VR.
I hate VR
hate
too.
it. It gives me nausea. But that thing, I wanted to go again. Yeah. Like I finished it, and I'm like, oh my god.
You get to have a fight with Darth Vader.
It is so cool. And
in
at the
VR.
same time, you kind of know it's not real.
Yeah.
So you feel really good, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, got excited. But then...
I'm your mother. No, father. No! Sorry.
But like in education, for example, I mean, I was lucky enough to have to try on a HoloLens. And I tried it with my little brothers who are 8 and 10 years old. And there was this little game where you could see the planets around you. And they were like, oh my God, this is so cool. My dad, who like hates technology, he was like, when can I buy this thing? It's amazing. I mean, he said it 2 days after because he needed to process it. But like, really. Yeah, like he put it down. He's like, yeah, okay. 2 days later, he calls me. He's like, this was really cool. This is, like, give me the details of like where I can buy it. I'm like, okay. But yeah, fashion. I don't know.
Still an
It's
emerging
It will
space.
happen I think.
It will.
I hope so.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
now.
I mean, it's the fact that the technology has to catch up in terms of visualization, because now we are used to this virtual reality world that it looks real because they spend millions of hours with, SGI and other technology to create it.
I mean, it moves really fast. Like, I remember I got the first DK1 from an agency that we were working with a while, like, back in 2014. And, like, the most you could do is, like, make spheres rotate, but it's a sphere, so you can't really see it rotate. Or you'd, like, make squares rotate or whatever. And it was, like, I was like, whoa, man, this is fucking awesome. This is so cool. And now people are, like, playing shoot-'em-up games in VR. Like, that's happened in 4 years' time.
Yeah.
Like, no one knows what's going to happen in the next few years. And I think for a lot of people, the whole Magic Leap thing was a massive disappointment. Because it was no different, really, from the HoloLens, which we have and we've been playing around with, in terms of quality and look and feel. Like, it was a bit of a disappointment. But to be honest, like, I think there used to be a game. Do you ever play called Second Life? Anyone?
Yeah.
You
It
could
was like downloading.
My friend's parents broke up because of Second Life. Yeah.
Wow.
They had an affair online with other people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense, man. Yeah.
Sorry, Mark. Sorry about that.
But it was
Sorry.
great. It was great because you could talk to someone who'd be like, "No, I'm done with you," and you could just go flying. And it was great. It's fantastic. But what was amazing with that is they built their own credit system, and a lot of fashion designers who weren't making actual physical products because it was too expensive, they were making millions of pounds or millions of dollars in Second Life by making like those clothes in 3D.
And selling it for your money.
Exactly. Yeah. And you get that now. There's this thing called VR chat. Has anyone watched it? Yeah. So it's really sad. Have you seen it? Yeah. Look for it on YouTube. Hours of fun. It's amazing. But people make mods and stuff like that for it. And I think that's where it will likely go, where people who want to spend most of their money on doing add-ons and stuff like that, and then people who want to create the content will make it inside that virtual environment. Awesome. It doesn't fit in this world. So.
Well, another thing about, I researched a little bit these tools because I was not really aware of it. And it's like you had to put these things, and then you have the battery, and then you create these worlds, and someone has to create the content. It seems kind of bit of, an engagement situation. I've used app that were basically delivering a very amazing augmented reality solution, more commercial one. So like you put the furniture there, you measure this, you see how things look in space. But at a fraction of the cumberness of these tools. So I think, it hasn't been extremely successful as everyone expected.
Well, they kind of sent this video out, the video of the whale. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
Yeah.
And it kind of, they managed to generate $4 billion just from that one video.
Oh, but that's not bad.
Which is not bad. So, they're good salespeople.
Yeah.
Which is...
Although the whole marketing team has basically been fired.
Oh, really?
It's hilarious, yeah.
Thanks for the $4 billion, guys. You're fired. Should we move on? Yeah? Okay, next question. Oh, this is a long one. In 2016, Google Brain turned on the Google Neural machine translation, which was used to learn languages and translate them from one language to another. After a month or so, the artificial intelligence was not only translating language that had been taught, but it also started to create languages that humans didn't know. Furthermore, it created its own language and was using this to communicate with other machines. Google, in fear, quickly turned off the system. What are your thoughts on the current state of artificial intelligence, and where do you think it fits in human nature? And Janne, we're going to go with you first. Yeah.
I think we definitely shouldn't fear it. That's something we have to be open for innovation. But what I do think is that we're focusing so much on development as an innovation, as in technology, artificial intelligence. But I think sometimes we might be a little bit left behind. because I don't know if we get lazy or, but I think a lot of it is now going towards, apps telling us how we feel. Even, sometimes that freaky moment and you see something on Facebook. Yes, I'm still on Facebook. Passing by, an ad, I'm like, I just thought about that. The idea that the advertising behind Facebook already knew it, which is of course also related to artificial intelligence. I always want to have like that choice, not that we're getting into that phase that artificial intelligence is going to make the choice for us, or we're not conscious of the fact that they are doing that. And I think we have to be aware that there has to be a balance between human nature and technology, and we have to find that, and also like get up our ass and think for ourselves a bit more, which I think that's why it's really relevant that education is getting a lot more focus besides the whole technology revolution. And I think, everyone, especially with the industrial revolutions have always been about technology. I think it should be more about our own development, our own innovation. Because in the end, we're so good at everything, we can design everything we want. But knowing that our brain, it's still not able to like plug our brain into a computer because there's no computer strong enough. Well, that means there's a lot more potential up here than we might be using. So.
Awesome.
Well, you talk about not being able to plug a computer. Like, apparently there's this woman, I don't know if you heard the story, who her boyfriend died or something. She plugged all their messages into a machine, and then she's able now to chat with the guy. Like, the machine is chatting as if she was talking to him. So that is scary. To me, AI is scary. Like, it is really freaky.
Guys?
I mean, it's two things really. Like the first one is where we are now. So where we are now isn't really where we should be in terms of AI. So everyone's dream is that you get to talk to, like, the computer can basically pass this thing called a Turing test, which is, for those of you who don't know, is you can speak to a computer through whatever interface it may be, so through typing or screen or talking to it or physically seeing it, and then it can trick you into thinking that it's a human. So it basically expresses human emotions and you can converse with it, and maybe one day for some weird reason you fall in love with it and then it murders you, because that's what AI does.
In like that movie, right?
Yeah, just like that movie.
Terminator.
No.
Get out! Get to the chopper!
Ex
Sorry.
Machina.
Ex Machina, yeah.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. So where we are right now is really us taking all the data that we have and teaching computers to understand our world, right? And that's what we're doing right now. But what we want to get to as technologists is what's called the technological singularity, which is where we have that experience where, computers surpass our way of thinking and our thought patterns and can actually solve real world problems for us. And what's scary about that is that if you look at the world that we have today, if an outside machine who has all the power in the world were to try and fix all of our problems, they would see that we are the actual problem. We're the ones polluting the planet with fashion. We're the ones killing each other and causing wars and stuff like that. So what a machine would do, a logical thing, would be to get rid of that problem. And that's the scary thing. So I feel like we need to change ourselves and the way that we are as humans before we start to explore that even more, because that's important.
That's deep, dude.
It's really deep.
That's
I get
deep.
so dark with this stuff.
Sarah Connor.
But it's a really matrix problem. The machine taking over, and I don't think it's that far. You explain very well where we are today, but as you said just before, it doesn't take long to get that leap.
At the moment, we don't have the compute power required to get to that point.
But someone like Google did it, and it kind of freaked out. So
Yeah, and IBM as well with IBM Watson.
yeah.
But the Google Assistant, like a couple of months ago, Google CEO presented the Google Assistant who could make a call for you and make a reservation at a restaurant. It's amazing.
See, that technology, you can do that right now.
But it freaked out people.
It does.
Because I saw it the day it got released, and I was like, this is great. When I downloaded the app, I'm like, when can I use it? And then people you had all these articles saying, oh my God, but it should say before it's calling that it's a computer talking to you, so I'm like, oh, okay, now, yeah, maybe I get it. But still,
We saw it, it's too human.
It exists already. They tested it.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's like, have you seen the deep fake thing? It's like so basically, you can take this video, a video of us.
Oh
And then you can make them say whatever you like and put other people's faces on it. That's creepy
You know how to see that it's a fake one?
because it glitches out. every now
No,
and then.
it's because you have to see if they blink.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I read.
That's how you know. That's how you know.
Sarah Connor. You're not blinking. Sorry. Let's move on. So, this is another Jing Daily question. The rise of selfie culture has turbocharged desire for luxury goods. Now, cultural shifts are putting these products in the hands of untold millions, giving brands much to smile about. How can brands use online influencers to engage with this market, and what factors are important when choosing and working with these influencers?
Preferably not. No. No, I think I always have a little bit of a fight with brands when they use online influencers. I don't think they just look at likes still, even the big brands. Again, less is more. But what you see is that they even change their identity. So they don't look at what's their brand, what is it about, which target do you want to address. They just say, well, this one has the biggest group of followers. This is the one we want. It's even come to the point that influencers start becoming designers. So, and I think, the problem, what first was that brands always focused on like sending out a message. It was a one-way street, it was towards the consumers. Now it has changed because consumers are more in power. But instead of like starting a dialogue, it's more about consumers saying the brands how they need to be, such as influencers. And what you then see now, which is a lot of brands struggling, is they have an identity crisis. Everyone's changing. So especially when you choose an influencer, always look at your character. Does it suit? And don't use it as a sort of marketing tool that you can plug in and plug out. It needs to be long term, otherwise it's not successful.
Absolutely. I think long term is definitely the key word there.
So, well, few years ago, I went to a luxury brand conference. I would say it probably was between 2011 2012. I mean, it's a few years ago. But then the point there was the luxury brands will never, ever listen to the public because they know everything, and they had to tell the public what to wear and how to wear it. So there's been a huge shift, and so probably it's kind of been a roller coaster situation. I think there will be, I hope there will be a bit of understanding that now, okay, the brands, they had to listen, but as you said, it should be more of a dialogue because, yeah, it's a bit extremist. But the way that medias are used also says, because, I mean, Snapchat was, booming, and now people kind of got a bit, tired of it. So, yeah, probably there will be a bit of an adjustment that there is a balance in that, yes, you pay for it, we understand what you want, and also we give our contribution to that.
Absolutely.
And create a real value, not just, a wow thing.
I think and also because influencers, how we know them normally, it's about entertainment, and there's quite a big shift now going on towards edutainment and activist-tainment. So it's not about just the prettiest picture. It's about truly having knowledge a little bit more. That's freaking a lot of influencers out because they really have to have not only a good picture, and a good camera to make a picture with, and a good filter, but they really have to know their business. The interesting part is that you now also see a lot of independent magazines popping up. And the Vogue L are really hitting, there's a lot of problems with them because just showing catwalks, just showing styles is getting bored. So even when you now look for an influencer, also look outside of the whole fashion, at least for when me addressing it from fashion perspective, look at people who have similar ideas. And the thing I like about that is that people are normally not in the front of the fashion scene, now are part of the influence of a fashion brand, which makes it a lot more holistic, a lot more multidisciplinary. Even educators, scientists, technologists, they are if you see those people also as influencers, I think that's the best way to go.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the I mean, social media is disturbing. I feel like I'm being very negative tonight.
You are.
Like, this is freaky, disturbing. I'm not like
We were
that
going to ask
usually.
you to leave, but...
Sorry.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
No, it's cool.
And like one of my cousins is 18 years old, so she's very much into all of that and taking selfies and stuff, which I don't get because I'm old. But like this new generation, I look because I still ask questions because I still want to understand how her and her friends are behaving because they grew up with that. And what is very interesting is that they will now go to like an activity or they choose their hobbies or what they do with their friends depending on how Instagrammable it is. Like it has to look cool and fun because then I can show it to my friends because I can take a cool video. So it's quite strange. But I feel that back to what you were saying, I feel like you can use social media also to build a community, to reach out to a community. This like the community aspect and angle of it is very powerful, and it has to be like you were saying, like it has to be authentic in the content that you're creating. And there's also everyone is talking now about authenticity, being authentic, like showing the real. But I feel like there's something really interesting there because it's not just about taking a nice picture and taking 250 pictures to choose one. It's about what are you showing, what's behind the picture and why are you doing it, and really being true to yourself. I feel like that's where social media is more interesting because you can also, last thing, you can reach out to a bunch of people that are not necessarily in your neighborhood that you would never have met, you know, if it wasn't for social media. Like a couple of months ago, I because fashion is the second most polluting industry, I'm like, I need to change this thing and I want to be more in sustainability and all that. I started reaching out to people on Instagram. I'm like, hi, really love what you do. Want to grab a coffee? And some people thought I was crazy, probably, but some people said, oh, great, perfect, yeah, let's go. I could never have done that if, you know, without social media, without Instagram, without Twitter, without all of that. So I think that's where it makes it really positive.
It's definitely a completely different marketplace than how it was, like, say, 5 years ago.
Add something for our Chinese friends. So I have a friend/client that she does luxury fashion in China, and she buy off the catwalk and very expensive garments for very elite crowd, let's say. And now she wants to do a special, let's say, snapshot space, like a museum type, where people can put the garment and can go there and it's staged and then can shop themselves and send it and share it with the crowd. Because sometimes they buy all these garments, but they don't even know where to wear them. So it's like she's kind of closing the circle. She sells the product and she makes sure that the people will share the product, and so they keep going through this circle. It's quite smart, to be honest.
Well, it's definitely a huge part of our culture now. Whether you like social media or not, it's here to stay. So yeah, I'm just conscious of time. Should we throw the questions out to the crowd, if that's okay? Yeah?
Sure.
All right, so we've got some questions. Hey, how you doing? I'm going to give you the mic.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So first of all, amazing conversations. So we all are very much sort of ingrained in newest technology advancements and everything else. But when we look at the majority of the human population, they absolutely have no clue or no interest as well. So how do we make sure that whatever technology the brands actually are utilizing, serving and really making a difference in an average, everyday human life? Not the cool tech guys' average human day life, yeah?
Also, what's your name and where are you from?
Okay, my name is Kate Nightingale and I'm a consumer psychologist and run a human experience consultancy.
That's amazing.
Come on. It's just like
Yeah, right. I don't know. I think we get this all the time, right? So brand X comes to us and says, I want to do a VR experience. We're like, okay, why? What's the point? Like, what are you trying to, what is the net effect of this thing that you want to do? And 9 times out of 10, it's that they want to have like almost like a mental shift with the customers that they engage with to be able to buy their product, right? Because that's what the whole idea is. And then we're like, that's really cool, but wouldn't it be much nicer if we use this experience and this event to get information to help you to improve your product so that people want to buy that product anyway. And that helps the average consumer, right? Because people don't want to buy crap stuff. I mean, they do at the moment because it's cheap. But, and I think that's what's really important. I think if almost like brands and retailers look at things at almost like the very base level and say, how can we use technology to improve the customer experience, then all the other things will kind of fall into place.
Awesome.
I think it's good to educate people. I think that's one of the thing I'm most worried about is that we understand that. I think a lot of we are familiar with technology. We have a level of knowledge that we are aware of what's going on, and I think especially with the majority, the guys who are shopping at Primark, I think we need to always look at their identity, their tone of voice that they use, and how we can dialogue, because we need to speak also their language, that they understand it, and that they are more familiar with positive and negative aspects of technology. But in order to do so, we need to come off our high horse and come down to the level that everyone understands. And I think because the whole disruptive, I'm always quite a bit. Why, we always have to keep unity in mind, and we want to. We have to use a language that everyone can understand, and we have to make the effort to make them understand, not just looking at them from a point of we want to sell stuff.
Small plug. That's kind of one of the reasons why we built the little creepy smiley poppy thing out there. Just for the record, it's basically, it's really cool. It uses facial recognition to be able to track people's faces, and then it measures your emotion based on your facial expression. So if you're happy, you get a little yellow light, and if you're sad, you get a little blue one. And as time goes on, there's this little bar underneath the camera that fills up with colors, and when it gets to the top, it sorts the colors into an order, and then if the majority of people are happy, then the confetti cannons go off. And most technology companies would have taken that, put a screen up, put loads of graphs on, and everyone would look at it and be like, what is this? Like, what's the point of this? But the idea is that we like to take that really complex thing and really, not in a horrible way, but dumb it down to almost like its bare essentials to make it not look creepy, because tracking your face and measuring your emotions is creepy. But doing a good output out of it is actually really fun and nice, and everyone enjoys it, and that's really important, I think, for education.
But I think that's the thing is, the first is knowing your audience, like who are you actually trying to engage with, and the second is it has to be easy. Like if there's too many things that you need to do, to read, to understand before you can actually use it, I'm out of here. Like the normal human being will not go through 15 minutes of onboarding before you can use something. Like it has to be engaging and easy. I think that's the main thing.
Everyone should read a book called Don't Make Me Think. It's really good.
I think also you need to not only be in the city center of London, you also have to go to the countryside, and although it must not be profitable, that's also part of, again, education. I think that's relevant. Because
Absolutely.
I know the Welcome collection, for example, they really, it's all about help, but the thing they say, for us, it's really difficult to get the people who we want to educate inside of the museum. So then you have to go to them.
Awesome. Should we get another question from the crowd? Anyone else? Yeah? Do you want to go? I'll come over to you. And what's your name and where you're from as well?
I'm Kale. I live in London, and the four of us are architectural lighting designers, and so we do a good deal of retail. And what I would be really curious in is twofold. One, what do people find most exciting technology-wise in a physical shop? And then what do you find as the most useful metric that you get out of that experience from them?
So I don't know if you've ever been to the Browns East store that has the store The Future Tech that was developed by Farfetch. So there's a lot of tech in the store, hidden or client-facing. The thing that clients like the most is when they see their name appear on the connected mirror. Like it's just easy as that. And this is what gets customers the most excited because they all want to take a picture with it. They're like, oh, my name on a mirror. This is amazing. So sometimes it can be just as simple. And the engineers were thinking, that's not going to be the most revolutionary thing. It's just your name on, well, you know, so sometimes it's about, again, like on just like testing it with your customers and seeing what makes them the most excited. And there it's about engagement. It's about how that just creates excitement, you know, and that's how we measure the engagement with the tech. It's just, sometimes it's just like those small things that an engineer would never have thought of, but that actually makes the client excited.
Personalization's like that is just literally it. Like if you can make if there's this thing where like if you're talking to someone and you're like the most boring person to speak to in the whole world, the moment you mention someone's name, they wake up. It's really weird. It's the creepiest thing. And the more you personalize that experience, the more engaging people are. And you don't have to use technology for that. It could be as simple as, you know, a shop assistant knowing that you were you, and then them walking up to you and being like, oh, well, welcome to the shop. I haven't seen you in a while. You know, how was that suit that you just bought the other day? And then, you know, they'll want to buy stuff from you. It's really weird. So.
Sarah Connor.
Yes.
That wasn't AI.
Well, I guess from a brand point of view, what the data they want is what they buy, what the consumer buys, and then if they keep buying a home or this kind of, you know, metrics that they make them more profitable. On the other hand, there are a lot of technology that I think they should be implemented across, which goes back to your question about payment. It's like, why do I need to queue? There's so many technology now that I just take the phone, beep the product, and walk out because it deactivated the security. Why do I need to queue? That's what I would like to have.
You think it's
maybe
bad?
you can tell your clients.
You think it's bad? It's worse in America. Like most point-of-sale systems don't even do contactless or chip. You have to sign for everything.
Yeah, I know. In America, you have to sign for everything.
But they can split a bill. I don't understand. How can they split bills in America? Like, me and Dan will be in New York, and then someone will walk up to us and be like, oh, you ready for your bills? And be like, we didn't even ask you to do that. Why is that so complicated here in the UK? You can get away with anything.
Let's take another question from the audience. Yeah? Tell us your name and where you're from.
Hi, my name's James. I'm from London. I have a question because I work for a food website and we only do brand advertising. I think it's interesting you mentioned influencers, and I think they can be quite often, there's a long lead time between someone seeing an impression of something online, and then particularly with retail, going and buying it in the shop. Do you think it's possible to track those purchases? And do you think that would be in the consumer's best interest?
No.
Never.
It's very hard. It's like the only way you can do it. If you think about if you look at it, it's like basic level, right? So I talk to you and I say, hey dude, there's a suit at Moss Bros. I'm an influencer, by the way. Do you want to go? I'd love it. You should probably go check it out, right? The only way that company will know that I influenced you is if you told them. Yeah. So unless I give you some kind of weird voucher, which you probably won't redeem, like there's no way of tracking that. Yeah, it's really sad.
It is very complicated, and yeah, exactly. But I mean, I don't necessarily agree with you on the conversion and like getting people to buy more, because now you have also this whole new kind of strategy in luxury and retail brands. It's not only about because right now we're only telling SAs your KPIs are on how many clients have bought with you, what is their turnover that you've generated. You look at the conversion rate, and it's a very old school way of looking at things, but also it's the only KPI that stores have. But what I would be more interested in, what brands are trying to implement, but it's really tricky, is how many people did you talk to today? How many people did you engage with? Even if they didn't buy with you today, maybe you got their name, maybe you showed them, I don't know, a dress or something, and they're gonna buy it online later, and that's fine. But how can we use all the tools that we have and all the tech to measure that? But it's super, super tricky. Like, it's the hardest thing, because you have to change how you train the sales associate, which is tricky, because you have to change their behaviors and the mindset. But also is how do you actually, how can you track that? And tracking is very hard, from social media to like retail and the other way.
I don't disagree with you. I think it's hard to do that. very well accurately, right? It's like when people do footfall tracking with cameras and Wi-Fi, it's like a dark art. It doesn't make any sense when you actually look at the numbers.
Manual.
Yeah, I know, right? Everyone's doing click. That's actually more accurate, weirdly enough. But I think a large part of it, which is what we're facing at the moment, is that as an example of our platform allows people to share content to social media. Fewer people are sharing stuff to Facebook and Twitter and sharing it on Instagram, right? And when we integrated WhatsApp integration into our platform, we noticed that as soon as we did that, social sharing went straight back up again. And a lot of people are sharing stuff on dark social. So what we now do is we educate clients on how to better track those metrics and how to better set the KPIs. Because if you're doing stuff based on how many social impressions you've got, that doesn't work anymore. And if you do it based on anecdotal data and regional data, it's very easy for you to say that there's an influence inside this region, it's affected these stores inside this area, and I can potentially attribute some of that to that person. And that's what you can do.
Awesome. We're going to do one more question. Yeah? Go with Leroy.
Okay, will do. Okay, hi, my name is Leroy Smith, and I own a company called Drive TV. We broadcast 360 in fashion, so that's my work. My question to you is, where do you see 5G? Will 5G make a difference to your subject matters that you were talking about today in regards to problematics, in regards to viewership, in regards to, say, shopping online, in regards to clothing, or setting up a online store or an online kind of like showroom for fashion designers? Do you see 5G making a difference within its process, basically? That's what I'm trying to say.
If it works, yeah. I mean, like barely any of us get good 4G reception at the moment. Like it's so bad that BT offer you a plan where you can get free Wi-Fi everywhere you go with your phone. Like, I mean, not to sound rude or anything, but like, I think 5G in this country is a long way away, and a lot of that is down to policy and red tape, you know. I think that in that respect, in other countries like China, I believe that 5G will be more prevalent and it will have a much more positive effect there. And it's really sad that as a country, we're so far behind in technology, and a lot of that is purely through legislation.
Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Infrastructure, yeah. For us, for instance, some of the virtual reality try-on solution, they really need more of a fast streaming, because if you want to try things, so you can measure, you come out in few seconds, there is your avatar, and then you virtually try on things online. We need the speed. And in fact, we did analyze few projects years ago, and the speed of the internet wouldn't be able to support that. And so we kind of designed gimmick option. But it's a pity because it was more costly to produce that gimmick option.
Absolutely. I mean, the 5G promise is that we will have that gigabyte culture where you'll be able to, you know, send data in a split second and vice versa. Yeah. So the potential sounds exciting. Yeah.
It has to work.
Yeah, exactly.
And the only thing is, like, we're not able to go to 5G with our brains. So in the end, you know, it's always nice, but more connections and more information isn't always better because our brain just can't cope with it. Yeah. So, and it's interesting to see that we've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5G in the future, but we haven't.
With our thumbs can't move fast enough to text at 5G rates. It's ridiculous.
So then you get
more thumbs. Just be able to type like this again.
Like, it's not too bad to like slow a bit down with some of the developments. Might improve. Yeah.
Cool, guys. Can we make some noise for our panel, please? Thank you so much. Oh, so guys, thank you so much for coming down. I just want to thank a few people. Firstly, Microsoft for giving us this space. You guys are freaking awesome. I was going to say a naughty word there, but I won't. Want to thank Crisis for hooking up with some of the staff that are helping us out tonight. Want to thank Jing Daly, who are filming this now, who we're streaming on those cameras up there, which is really cool, out in China and the US. Want to thank all of my panel here, so make some noise for them again. I know we already did that, but let's just do it again. Do you guys want to stand up and do a bow or something?
Yeah, right.
No? Yeah?
Oh,
no? Okay.
What? Is it just me?
That would be so cool, wouldn't it?
All right.
Or about Mexican wave? Let's do it, yeah. Whee.
You don't have to stand up for it. You can't just sit down.
But yeah, thanks so much for giving us your time. Your time means a lot to us. Again, this event was put on by Tiger Heart and Digital Jam as a collective. We're really proud of this, this creative technology community that we're developing. And we just want to thank all you guys for giving us your time. There's going to be loads of food over there, so if you're hungry, grab a pizza or a Subway. We've got some booze as well, which we weren't supposed to have, but somehow we've got it. So if you want to get drunk, help yourselves responsibly. But yeah, thank you so much. Please tell your friends about us. Peace and love.